Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Adam Burke from BangTheBook.com, coming to you with a look at game 137, 138, some Saturday afternoon action here in the Big 12. Iowa State, a 10.5-point favorite on the road, total of 53 in Morgantown to take on the West Virginia Mountaineers. Over at BangTheBook.com, great work being done by our talented cast of writers. Daily NHL picks from Parker Michaels, lots of college football and NFL content, system picks, power ratings, predictions, betting trends, all kinds of good stuff from our cast of writers, including myself, Jonathan Willis with some FCS picks, Admir Algic, Alan Moody with some system picks. Really good stuff from our group of football writers over there. We also cover NASCAR. We cover UFC. We cover esports. We cover all kinds of different stuff that's going on out there in the sports world. Major League Baseball playoffs. We'll have the ALCS and the NLCS series previews coming up here a little bit later on in the week. We got a lot of good stuff going on over there, so please head on over there. Make sure you check it out. Check out our other videos here on our Bang the Book YouTube page as well. Brian Blessing with some good thoughts on the Houston Open, on this weekend's NASCAR race at Talladega, and his thoughts on a couple of betting angles to consider for NFL Week 6 here. A couple of good bets based on something that he's observed so far over the course of the 2019 NFL season. So some good insight there with him. And some very good insight Monday through Friday on Bang the Book Radio. You can find the segments right here on our Bang the Book YouTube page. I bring on a lot of handicappers, a lot of smart minds in this industry to talk about different betting angles, different stats, different justifications for picks. A lot of good insights there from our guests, and hopefully that's something that you enjoy. Of course, you can find it here, as I mentioned, on our Bang the Book YouTube page, but also on Spreaker, Stitcher, Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, SoundCloud. Wherever you listen to your podcasts, you're going to find Bang the Book Radio there. So please check it out if you haven't. And if you have, thank you so much for listening, however often you do. All right, so once again here, game 137, 138, Iowa State and West Virginia. And look, more often than not, I try to cover the weeknight games or some of the marquee games here on the videos. But I wanted to throw one out that I've got a little bit stronger of an opinion on here this week. And that is this game here in Morgantown. Get Iowa State a 10.5-point favorite against West Virginia. West Virginia has 2 losses on the season. They're a -3 in turnover margin in both of them. They lost at Missouri, and they lost at home to Texas here this past weekend. And when you look at those 2 games, Missouri had 21 points off of the 3 Austin Kendall picks, including a pick 6. Texas, 3 short field touchdowns off of Kendall picks in that game last weekend. West Virginia also missed a field goal. Otherwise, maybe they do wind up covering that number there. And they did push for some people that got in on that game at 11. But when you look at West Virginia here this year, I think they're a better team than what the scoring defense numbers and what some of the other metrics would indicate. When you look at Kendall last week, yeah, he threw 4 interceptions against Texas. He was also hospitalized early in the week for an infection on his throwing hand. So there is that. 2 of the picks off of the hands of wide receivers. Another pick, just a miscommunication where the wide receiver ran the wrong route. And that is part of the equation here for West Virginia this season. They did lose a ton of wide receiver talent last year. But Neil Brown, a guy that is well-versed in coaching up wide receivers and coaching up offenses, you've got to think West Virginia does get better here as this season goes along. And so far, their defense has been respectable. 5.2 yards per play allowed, 5.3 yards per play allowed in games against FBS opponents. They're 40th in yards per pass attempt allowed. They only have the 3 interceptions, so they're not getting as many takeaways as you'd like to see. But again, this defense has played pretty well in the face of some short fields, in the face of some of the difficult situations that their offense has put them in. But again, you look at last week's game here. It's a 21-17 game early in the 4th quarter. Austin Kendall throws a pick. 18 yards later, Texas scores. Kendall throws another pick on the ensuing possession. 33 yards later, Texas scores. All of a sudden, it's an 18-point game. Iowa State here on the season so far, they only have 5 takeaways. And they've played some pretty decent games here, and certainly, a good effort last week against TCU. But for 3 quarters, they were completely dominated on the road at Baylor, scored all 21 of their points in the 4th quarter. Last week, Brock Purdy, he was just able to escape contain. TCU gave up 102 rushing yards to him on 12 attempts. He was efficient. They played well. They scored 49 points. This is a different type of animal here. Going to Morgantown against a West Virginia team that I think is underrated and underappreciated at this point in time. Look, their 2 losses, they got blown out at Missouri because they were -3 in turnovers, and they were right around the number against Texas because they were -3 in turnovers. So I think this West Virginia team is better than what their results would suggest, better than what some of their stats would say. I think Iowa State maybe getting pumped up a little bit too much here because people had such high hopes for them coming into the season. Again, they play a good defense. They've got a decent run defense, but they're not forcing a whole lot of turnovers here. Total coming down on this game as well would suggest that points could be at a premium. So I do like West Virginia here, a pretty decent amount, plus the 10.5. And again, when you look at last week's game, Texas -10.5, -11 in that type of range. Are Texas and Iowa State a pick 'em on a neutral? Maybe. They could be. If you don't think so, then there's probably some line value here with where the market has put this game. I don't really know if that's the case here. It certainly would depend on how Iowa State looks going forward, how Texas looks going forward. But still, I think this is a spot where West Virginia has a little bit of line value, is a little bit disrespected, and I'll take the Mountaineers here getting 10.5 at home against the Iowa State Cyclones. I'm Adam Burke for BangTheBook.com.